We be live. Hi, everyone. There's a lot of anti-Israeli nonsense being spread on social media right now. I mean, that's always the case, but right now it's picking up. So we're going to be responding to the latest ones, which is right now the main one is about the idea that Israel is using starvation as a weapon in Gaza, which is, I knew it was nonsense, but then when I went and prepared for this show to look at the actual information, um, I don't know what was I expecting, but the degree in which this is different from what actually is happening was even more than I anticipated, which I don't know why. I shouldn't have been surprised. The reality is so much the opposite of what they're saying that is absolutely insane. So I need you guys to like the stream. I see a lot of you are already liking the stream and confirming in the chat that you're liking the stream. Thank you so much, guys. I need you guys to like the stream because there's a wave of anti-Israeli, anti-Semitic, anti-Zionist propaganda being spread all over social media, and it's huge. And the ones responding to it are not as, their videos are not going as viral, or they're not getting as seen as much as the people, which is so pathetic. That these people also claim that they're being censored while being the loudest voices at the same time. They're so is the irony there is crazy. But yeah, we need to respond to that, and I need you guys to uh, like the stream and share this stream. And I also see people in the chat. D is here. Dr. Amir is here. Amir also is highlighting the comments. Thank you so much, Amir. I see Jack. I see LF. I see YAB. I see Jewish Samantha. I see Neil Bunny. Thank you guys for being here in the chat and commenting. Amir is going to be starring your comments. So but yeah, and also, by the way, during the stream, I'm going to be reading some super chats. Anyways, let's get into it. So the accusation is that Israel is right now using starvation as a weapon in Gaza. Um, and by the way, guys, there are a few people on our side who are not helping out. Like the people, I don't even want to consider them on our side. Don't go around and suggest that, okay, well, this is okay because this and this and this and that. Okay, this is not okay. However, first of all, there is no using of starvation by Israel, and I'll show you why. And also, everything that is happening in Gaza, you should see it as a tragedy, even if it's not famine level, or even if they're spreading lies like, I don't know, 14,000 people are going to die within the next 48 hours. That is absolutely a lie. That was absolutely not the case. But whatever the situation is in Gaza is obviously tragic, and we blame Hamas for it. Don't go and say it's not tragic. Just because they're exaggerating, that doesn't mean it's not tragic. They're exaggerating. It's not as bad as they say, but it is tragic. You have to acknowledge that this is tragic, but Hamas is responsible. If you think you're helping Israel by going around and saying this is not tragic, you're not helping Israel. You're actually helping them. You're helping the so-called pro-Palestinian side. You're helping their narrative. So don't help like that. I mean, if you think you're helping like that, you're technically on their side because you're feeding into the narrative. By the way, everything I'm going to be using here, I got this data from UN. Okay, so it's not people are like, oh, where did you get these from? Is this anti-Israel, like from Israel, pro-Israeli propaganda machine? No, I got this from UN, Reuters, BBC. One place that I got this, which is Israeli, is the COGAT. That's Israeli, but the numbers were confirmed by UN and Reuters, the numbers that I got from there. And another place that I got that is Israeli, these numbers from, was peer-reviewed analysis by Haaretz. And again, it's Israeli, but it's an Israeli source that is very, very, very critical of Netanyahu and the government. So that one, you cannot tell me that one is biased in favor of Israel because it's Israeli. Anyways, let me actually quickly jump into the lies, and I tell you, after I tell you why are they lies and why Gaza is not being starved by Israel, I also tell you what the actual numbers are. Okay, let me see you guys in the chat. Yeah. Okay. So Jack is saying. Okay. So yeah, I will. Also, Amir, please star only the comments that are absolutely relevant to the topic at hand. Okay. Only star those comments. Okay. Because I don't want to uh, get off topic if there's a comment that is not relevant to what we're saying. Right. Okay. So let me actually go through 6, 7, 8. First of all, I'll go through 8 points, and then we'll talk about the amount of food and calories that is actually being uh, going into Gaza and how different from reality it is. Because I was absolutely shocked when I went and looked at the numbers. I like, holy effing Christ! Not Israel should be congratulated as the most humane, most loving, most moral, most ethical army in the whole world. And when you go on the media, it's like it seems like you get the impression that they're pure evil. You know, sometimes is this real? Like I have to double check, triple check, quadruple check, because how is it that what I'm seeing in the headlines so different, so freaking different from what the actual numbers show? It's insane. It's absolutely insane. Okay, so somebody is, correcting my pronunciation, saying, by the way, Armin, it is Haaretz. I said Haaretz. I said Haaretz. Haaretz. Anyways, you guys know, as long as you know what I'm referring to, that should be fine. Even if my pronunciation is wrong. Okay, Amir, you guys know what I'm referring to, so that's fine. Okay, yeah, Amir saying you're 100% okay. All right, good. As long as Amir is happy, I'm happy. Okay. All right. So Israel is letting in aid. Hundreds of trucks are entering. Okay. On average, Israel is clearing about 100 to 160 trucks per day on average via again, probably I'm pronouncing this wrong. Kerem Shalom. Okay. Via the Kerem Shalom. We will get back to that because that's important. Feel free to correct my pronunciation in the chat. Over 700 truckloads are stuck on the Gaza side because the UN hasn't picked them up. So Israel isn't the main bottleneck. It's the bottleneck is inside Gaza. So the food is getting in. Israel is doing its part. Once it gets in, there are issues with what happens after. And a lot of people are blaming Israel for why the food is not getting into the hands of people. But Israel is doing the part that it's supposed to do, because I will go over the law, and you see that Israel is legally basically responsible for just getting the food in. It's not responsible after to deliver the food into everyone's hands. We will get to that. The real choke point is inside Gaza. It is being looted by criminal gangs, which is basically Hamas. Okay, so Hamas is looting the food inside Gaza. UN trucks again. This is like, guys, just I'm laughing, but this is dark comedy. The reason why I'm laughing is because how crazy it is. Israel is moving all the food that is supposed to inside. Sometimes there are delays, and I will get to that for why that happens. It's not an exaggeration when I tell you, and you'll see that every time the food is not getting into people's hands, it's because of Hamas. So, for example, UN trucks were attacked on May 23rd. UN drivers and staff now refuse to deliver to certain areas because it's too dangerous. Let me know, guys, in the chat if you've heard of this. Let me know if you knew the reason why some people in Gaza are not getting the food is not because the food is not making it into Gaza. It's because UN drivers are refusing to deliver the food because Hamas is attacking the trucks, and UN drivers are refusing to do the job because they're afraid. They think it's too dangerous. Amir is saying exactly. So do you guys hear about, like, have you heard this anywhere else? Because I am following mainstream media. Again, I'm not one of those guys that wants to always blame the mainstream media. Like, mainstream media is not telling you this, it's not telling you that. But in this case, mainstream media is not telling you this. But what the hell? Why do I have Go dig this out. Like, what's the point of watching the news if I'm not going to get this? If when I watch the news, when I'm watching the news, I get the sense that the food is not getting in because Israel is not delivering the food. Then when I go look at the reports, not by Israel, reports that has been verified by people critical of Israel, I see the food is getting in. The UN is not delivering it because Hamas is attacking the trucks. What the hell? How is the world everywhere like protesting, like, hunger as a weapon of war being used? They're weaponizing hunger. Mother effers. It's Hamas that is not letting the food get into their hands. What? Okay. And also, Israel itself has legitimate security concerns. On May 5th, Hamas rockets killed 4 Israeli soldiers at the same. I remember. I mentioned Kerem Shalom. Kerem Shalom. Am I pronouncing it right? Right. So that's the only place that the food couldn't get in. Which we'll get to why that's the only place that food could get in. Why is it, guys, that the other places food cannot get in from other places? Is it because Israel has closed it? We will get into that. But this whole Kerem Shalom basically gate that the food can get in, Hamas rocketed the place where the food is getting in. I wonder why. And four Israeli soldiers were killed. Kerem. Okay, Jewish Samantha is saying it's Kerem Shalom. Thank you for helping out the pronunciation. Guys, why is it? Think about this. There are no other ways that food to get in. Hamas, people think Hamas is fighting for the people in Gaza. What a joke. And the people are like, oh, Israel is letting food in. And the place that Israel gets the food into Gaza, Hamas, which people around the world think they're fighters, they are the fighters for the sake of people in Gaza, is rocketing the gateway that the food gets in. Why? Why would they do that? Does that not go in line? Is that not 100% in line with what we have told you on this stream time and time again? Because Hamas benefits from the suffering of the people in Gaza. Hamas wants the suffering of the people in Gaza. And also, where the hell did they get those rockets? Because a lot of these rockets were destroyed. Some of these rockets are like new because they're getting in through some of these trucks. So all of these trucks, people are like, oh, it's too slow. Well, it's too slow because every single one of these trucks have to be checked for weapons, for cement that they use to rebuild their tunnels, and for drones. That's why it's so freaking slow. Because do you understand when they try to get these things in? Like if they're trying to get a drone in, when the soldiers are looking into the trucks, it's not like they're gonna find a drone in one piece. Like, oh, let's look for drones. How hard could that be? It's not like that. The drones are going to be taken apart into very small pieces, so that they're not very easily detectable, and they're going to put in little corners inside the truck. Have you watched Breaking Bad? Do you understand how that works? They could put it into places that nobody could even think that, oh, is this part of the truck or is this part of a drone? Like, is this something that could be like eventually turned into a drone, right? So they have to look into every freaking corner of every truck so that they know that the pieces of a drone is not being hidden in there. Like, you cannot expect the Israeli army, the soldiers, to allow in the very weapons that eventually is going to be turned against them to kill them. Like we saw on May 5th that they killed 4 Israeli soldiers with those missiles and drones. Israel found terror tunnels under hospitals, proving that humanitarian sites are sometimes abused. We know this. Inspections and limits are based on real threats. This is not cruelty. This is real threats. We know that. So Israel reopened the, again, I'm sorry for mispronunciation, Erez crossing in the north. They helped build the sea pier with the U.S. Is that okay? And approved airdrops by allies. Israel isn't trying to block all food. It's trying to find. Israel is basically going, and again, I will prove this to you with numbers. Israel is going above and beyond, working with its allies to try to find ways to get food in. And again, Israel is trying to find ways with the United States because UN is really not uh, trustworthy. But again, even right now, the UN is still involved. So here's the thing. Let's go to the Rafah crossing, because I keep talking about the Kerem Shalom opening, but people are like, "What?" But there is another opening, which is the Rafah, the Rafah opening at the bottom, in the south. And why isn't food getting in from there? Iris. Oh, thank you, Amir. Iris. Amir is writing it in Arabic so I could read it. Thank you. Arabic font, Persian. Yeah, okay. Well, it's Arabic font. Angry Keyboard Warrior just gave us a super chat saying, "Is there Islamic reason for Hamas to steal the aid?" Well, when it comes to fighting kufr, when it comes to fighting the enemies of Islam, you could do that by all means necessary, and also because they believe that they have the people of Gaza suffering. They have opt in on the suffering. They have accepted the suffering for the sake of fighting the resistance, right? So they're thinking they're fighting Jews, they're fighting kufr, they're fighting the enemies of Islam. So all means are justified to that end, right? It's jihad. I mean, people suffer in jihad. So, and the more you suffer, the point here, let me actually make it easier. This life is meaningless, right? So the suffering of people in this life is unimportant according to the Quran. So, and the more you suffer in this world, the closer to Allah you're going to get anyways. So if people are suffering, if Muslims are suffering, but they're suffering in the path of fighting the enemies of Islam, that's a just and holy suffering. I mean, that's how you could justify it Islamically. But let me get back to the point. But let's get back to Rafah. Why is food not getting in from Rafah? Egypt has closed Rafah. The Rafah opening. Rafah is closed. While Israel's the parts that is under Israel's control, they're open. All the gateways into all the openings into Gaza that Israel manages, they're open and aid is getting in. Rafah, which is under Egypt's control, is closed. Israel is asking Egypt to help with the aid, but Egypt is refusing. So why? People tell me this in the chat. Why is it that people are not going around and doing protests against Egypt? Can somebody explain this to me? Why is it the openings that are under Israel's control and Israel is allowing food in there, people are not giving Israel credit to Israel for doing that, but the Rafah opening, yeah, Torah is like, wonder why. Exactly. Wonder why. Exactly. Anti-Islam is saying, no Jews, no news. No Jews, again, Jerry Samantha, no Jews, no news. Yeah, Egypt is not ain't Yehud. Why is it? Why is it? Israel isn't in control of Rafah. Why aren't people blaming Cairo? Why are people blaming Tel Aviv? Why? I mean, people. I tried asking this of somebody who's anti-Israeli, and he was like, "Sure, I could blame Egypt as well. Here, I'll blame Egypt. I go, oh, well, thank you. Well, let me see the protests. Let me see that was very passionate. Like when it comes to Israel, like these evil Israel. With Egypt, like, oh, sure, they're bad too. Okay, sure. Yeah, if you make me, I'll say it if I have to. Oh, we got Bar in the chat saying, when are you visiting us again in Israel? Well, I mean, when somebody when there is a group of people that facilitate it and invite me, I will do that. I will do that as soon as somebody organizes that and manages an event or something, right? But yeah, thank you for wanting me to come to Israel. But again, I'm so busy, so I can't manage all of that. But I appreciate that. Okay, let's go. Let's continue. So here's another problem for why the food might get in, but so once I make all of these points to them, a lot of people say, okay, the food gets in. However, there's another reason why Israel is responsible for why the food is not actually getting into the hands of people, and that's fuel restrictions. The fuel restrictions, so the food is getting in, but the fuel restrictions are there to prevent Hamas from stealing it. And they're like, okay, so Hamas has a long history of diverting diesel, fuel, and all forms of other aid. But all the fuel that gets into Gaza goes immediately into fueling Hamas's war machine. Basically the fuel that powers the tunnel drillings, the rocket launchers, and the vehicles that Hamas is using. So Israel is allowing some fuel in, but it has to be verified. It has to be. They have to make sure that it's being used for humanitarian use. If right now, even though they know that the food that gets in, immediately Hamas picks that up and first feeds their own fighters, their own militants, and then they sell the rest to the people in Gaza. But they have to still allow the food in anyways, even though they know that. Like Israel is still doing that, even though it knows that it's being misused. But when it comes to the fuel, that is insane for them to just let the fuel in without actually making sure that they're there and visibly checking and verifying that it's being used only for humanitarian reasons. Because imagine if your expectation from Israel was like, hey, put the fuel in, the very fuel that is the Hamas is going to use for the rocket launchers that is going to be directed at your soldiers. Yeah, why don't you? The double standard is crazy. We expect from Israel something that we expect from no other country's army ever in history. Why don't you fuel their rocket launchers that are killing your soldiers, Israel? What? And they're like, if I do that, would you guys say that I'm doing? No, we will still condemn you. We will condemn you now for not fueling the terrorists that are killing your soldiers and your civilians. So, but if I fuel them, will you stop condemning me? No, of course not. Of course not. We will condemn you to the only way that we will stop condemning you is that Hamas gets the chance to eliminate every single last one of you, man, woman, and children. And once you are no more, that's the only time we will stop condemning you, because there's none of you left anymore. That's the only time we will stop condemning you. You just have to stop existing. That's our condition. But right now, even though this is not going to stop us from condemning you, we demand that you fuel your rocket launchers and tunnel drillings and the vehicles of Hamas. So obviously that's unreasonable. Obviously it makes sense for Israel to, it would be irresponsible of the IDF and Israel as a whole to just allow the fuel in. I mean, if you are an Israeli soldier and you get killed by a rocket launcher that your army fueled, you would be it's justified that you should be pissed. You should be pissed off at your own country. Like, what the hell? You armed the people that are killing me. Why am I fighting for a country that is arming the people that are shooting missiles at me? Why would I go to war for IDF? IDF is giving the weapons to the people that are shooting in my freaking direction. What the hell? No, that is an expectation that nobody has for any army anywhere in the world except for Israel, because they're Jews. Because they're Jews, and that's the double standard here. So because it's so difficult to get the fuel in, even when the food is in, there's not enough fuel sometimes to get the food into the hands of people who need it. That's another issue. And when you get to this point, oh, by the way, we got another super chat. Let me respond to that. Bar is saying that's because we see Israel as a light and a model state for others. So our moral values play a big part in the condemnations it's used against us. Oh, yeah. And also, Bar, I like that you say that, because a lot of people think that, oh, Israel should basically lower itself to the very same tactics that Hamas uses, because it's only fair if they are being so immoral and they have no standards, then why should we have any standards? But I like the fact that you value the fact that your country has these moral values. It's a lot of people, when their enemy is basically using a lower standard of, well, not lower standards, no standards of morality, they're like, okay, well, to defeat such an enemy, we have to go down to their level. I don't believe that, because the reason why your country is stronger is because of these values. I mean, the terrorists, their aim is to try to bring you down to their level. It's not just to kill your people, it's also to bring you down morally to their level. So going to their level is basically them winning. So the fact that you insist that this is our values and we will continue to abide by it, I really celebrate that, and I congratulate you for wanting that. That's very nice. Do you guys understand what I'm saying here? This is very important. Right. So let's continue. Where was I? Okay. So when we get to this point and they have nothing, guys, when it comes to the data, when it comes to the facts, and I will get to the calorie count as well, then they have nothing. At this point, we're like, well, Israel is an occupier. And at this point, they were like, they're going to say, well, none of this would have happened anyways if Israel wasn't occupying this place. Okay? They would just basically lose their mind. And because they're like, look, Israel is abiding by this, it's doing this. This is why this is difficult over here. This is why this is impossible over there. And then they look at it, and if they're actually paying attention, they realize that you're right, and they just basically want to basically give up and say, like, they say that, well, all of this situation is happening because Israel is occupying this area, and none of this would have been happening anyways if Israel was just stop being an occupier. They keep using the word occupier. You know what? We have to do a stream on each one of these terms at some point. Like the word genocide, we need to refute that. The word apartheid, we need to refute that. With the word occupier, we need to refute that. We need to do a dedicated stream on each one of these buzzwords that they're using. But quickly here, when it comes to Gaza, first of all, Israel withdrew from Gaza in 2005. Not only they withdrew the living out of Gaza, they withdrew the dead Jews out of Gaza. They dug out their graves. I remember I was a kid watching TV, and my jaw dropped because I could not believe that I'm seeing Israeli soldiers dragging Jews out of Gaza, kicking and screaming. What the hell? I can't believe that Israel is doing this, because this was completely different from the image that I had of Israel, but based on the propaganda that I grew up with in Iran. They are they're forcefully like they were dragging them on the ground. I saw I saw Jewish women screaming, resisting, and Israeli soldiers were basically taking them out of Gaza by force. And they also dug their graves so that there's not even Jewish bones in Gaza. So they removed the living and the dead Jews out of Gaza, and there's no military there. There's no settlers remaining there, which actually I think was a mistake. Come at me. I mean, we saw the result. I mean, October 7th wouldn't have happened if Israel didn't withdraw from Gaza. So the actual term is not legally is called blockading belligerent, not an occupier. So even if you want to go based on international law, which a lot of it doesn't actually make any sense, but even if you want to go by international law, that is the term that is used, not occupier. So because under international law, it's not categorized as an occupier, is categorized as a blockading belligerent, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. The duty under international law is to allow aid in, not to deliver it into the hands of people directly. That is its obligation under international law. So even if aid isn't reaching people, Israel isn't legally required to fix every breakdown, even though Israel is trying to come up with ways to fix every breakdown inside Gaza, but it's actually legally not required to. That's why a lot of people are like, oh, this is illegal. This is a violation of international law. Israel is going above and beyond what is required under international law. Oh, we got a major super chat. Thank you. We got an orange super chat. I appreciate that. By Elbart 2001. Thank you. Elbart is saying, why are many atheists on YouTube so logical and smart when talking about religion, but are room temperature IQ when talking about Israel-Gaza conflict? The Daves and Walkays are so frustrating and dishonest. It's unreal. Well, Elbert, because they're like other people, right? We have many other atheists or believers. This is not just true about atheists. This is true about all sorts of people. They compartmentalize. So whether you're a believer or an atheist, I know believers that are very smart about some specific topic and are absolute idiots about some other topics. Okay, so this is not an atheist thing. This is just a human thing. Like I know, for example, people who are university professors and have like multiple expertise, and they're like not professors in the humanities. I'm talking in STEM, right? In science, technology, engineering, math, and they are experts in their fields. But then they believe, for example, that 9/11 was an inside job. So it's absolutely possible for people to be smart about something and absolute idiots about something else, right? But thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. All right, so where were we? So it's that, guys, what I just mentioned might seem like a technical thing that is not that important, but it is very important, because there's two different arguments here: one morality and the other one legality, and they're not always the same. They're not always the same thing. And when you are making moral arguments for why Israel is doing what it's supposed to do, then people will jump to legal arguments and be like, hey, this is actually technically under international law. Again, not everything in international law makes sense. Okay, there are certain things for example, it's true that Israel is violating international law by having its settlements in the West Bank. That is true. I'm not going to deny that, right? However, when it comes to the West Bank, I'm actually against international law, and I support Israel, and I think the international law is wrong. but I don't deny the fact that Israel is violating international law. However, Israel has no choice but to violate international law because Israel has to survive. Israel has to, if abiding by international law risks your existence, then you have no choice but to violate international law. And it's not Israel that needs to change; it's the international law that needs to change. But I won't go around and deny that Israel is violating international law when it comes to the West Bank, even though F the international law over there. But here, when people are but when it comes to Gaza, and people keep saying that this is like it's under international law, it's the responsibility of Israel to deliver the food to the people that need it. Tell them, no, it's not. No, it's not. They're like, no, it is. Here, international law says that an occupier, blah, 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 blah. Okay, but under international law, Israel wouldn't be categorized as an occupier, right? Again, the actual term is blockading belligerent, and also, even though it's not required to try to do everything to deliver the food, it is trying to do that. You're just not noticing it. So mention this every time. Israel isn't legally required to fix every breakdown inside Gaza. That is not Israel's responsibility. Here's another point. Despite domestic pressure, Israel continues to allow aid. Because within Israel, I mean, people in the live chat, please confirm, because I know a lot of Israelis follow this channel, and I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you so much for being here. Even the ones who are critical of me. I have people from Israel that disagree with my support of Israel, which this is what I'm going to be talking about. So Israel citizens, some of them are angry about the hostage deals and want aid to be stopped. Can you confirm, guys, in Israelis in the chat, that this is true? There are many Israelis who are extremely angry, and they're wondering, why are we allowing aid to our enemies? Lithium in the chat says, I confirm. Purple Pop is saying, indeed. Amir saying, yes, some. There are some. I'm saying true. Okay. So there was protest from, what is this? TSAV9 that blocked, I don't know how to pronounce that blocked 8 trucks on May 21st. But the Israeli government cleared the road and let the trucks in anyway. So Israel is risking its own domestic support to keep aid flowing. And again, the Israeli government understands that there are certain things that you need to do, even if some people in your population are against it. Okay. I want to capture everything that we said so far, because then I want to move into the calories that are making it in, because that's very important, right? But what did we learn so far? Israel is not blocking aid. Israel is letting in 100 to 160 trucks per day. The real reason people are not getting enough food is looters, Hamas looters are hijacking trucks, and other looters, actually. It's not just Hamas looters. UN drivers are scared. Hamas keeps interfering. There is no fuel. There is not enough fuel to go around. And Rafah is shut by Egypt. I'm not suggesting Israel is perfect. I'm sure if you go dig into every single operation that they're doing, you're going to be like, well, what about this? What about this? What about that? And yes, even without checking, I can be almost 100% certain that given how big all of these operations are, you will be able to find mistakes by Israel in Gaza that could have been done better. But the thing is that Israel is performing better than any other country when it comes to any other country, even with its flaws. Israel should be used as a role model on what to do. Maybe sometimes even too much on what to do in such a situation. Again, be careful, because at some point the people who are against you, they will find an example of something that they're right, that was a mistake, that they're right, that this could have been done better. But they're not saying the overall picture. No country could do perfect. No, the expectation of perfect and no flaws is unreasonable. But compare this to everyone else. Right? It's acting under real security threats while still allowing aid to flow, sometimes against its own public opinion. The UN and Egypt also share responsibility for a lot of the bottlenecks. So let's actually go to the calories, but before that, we got a super chat. Sean Pierre is saying settlements in Judea and Samaria do not violate any laws. I mean, they don't violate any Israeli laws, but they do violate international laws. And I don't care. So maybe I'm wrong about this, but last time I checked, they do violate international laws. But I don't care. I'm saying Israel should be violating those at least those specific international laws, because losing that area will basically leave Israel so vulnerable. And thank you for the super chat. But let me know if I'm wrong, because every time I check, it is. I'm not condemning Israel for violating those international laws. It's necessary, guys. Survival is a priority over abiding by international law. Here's the thing. I don't know if you guys know this, but I cannot abide by international law if I am not alive. There is no way that I can abide by international law if I do not exist. Okay, so I think existence is a precondition for abiding by international law. Okay, so if I need to violate international law to make sure that my people get to live, I'm going to violate international law. That's the way I see it. Oh, and also Angry Keyboard Warrior just gave us a super chat saying Israel argues the settlements are not illegal because the West Bank is a disputed territory, not an occupied territory. Well, I will look into that. Maybe you guys are right. I'm not gonna be. I'm not always. I'm not gonna claim that what I'm saying is 100% sure every time. But even if so, let me actually. Every time I looked into this, it seemed like it was violating international law. I mean, it's argue settlements are not illegal because the West Bank is disputed territory, not occupied territory. Disputed territory, not occupied. I mean, that's not a contradiction. A disputed territory. Again, I can look into this, but let's say you guys are right and it's not a violation of international law. Then, if you guys are right and I'm wrong, I would argue that even if it was a violation of international law, Israel has a duty and a responsibility to its citizens to keep occupying that area. Because it would be insane to allow an Islamic Republic, the Islamic Republic of Palestine, be formed right across the borders, so close to Tel Aviv. There's not a single defense mechanism so technologically advanced in the world that could stop missiles hitting Tel Aviv so close from borders so close to Tel Aviv. And if you have an Islamic Republic of Palestine so close to Tel Aviv, then legally this Islamic Republic would legally be able to stockpile missiles, buying them from the Islamic Republic in Iran, stockpiling them, and then eventually rain them down upon Tel Aviv. And there is not a single defense mechanism that could stop that, given how short the range is going to be. So that it would be suicidal. It would be insane if Israel allows that area to become its own country. Especially given that it has given them the opportunity multiple times, and they're like, yeah, how about no? How about it's all ours? Okay. Right? Oh, we're getting so many super chats, guys. a lot of our community is getting a lot more generous these days. I appreciate that. PC just gave us a super chat saying, "Great show." I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And also, Holotap is saying international law isn't worth a damn. Well, I mean, I wouldn't go that far. I appreciate the super chat. I think international law needs to be improved. We still need um, a framework for countries to be working in, right? So international law isn't worth a damn. It's even risking Europe with the whole immigration system. Yes, these are parts of the international law that needs to change because they're insane. I don't want to throw out the baby out with the bathwater. For example, this part of the international law that you're referring to needs to be changed. In fact, the EU has violated international law when it comes to, I forgot what it's called, when it comes to having to process refugees in before they send them back because there were just so many refugees. So Europe has violated, the EU actually has violated international law when it becomes a matter of survival. And people didn't go and call the EU like, oh my God, you guys are violating international law, because it just didn't make any sense anymore. So the EU itself violated international law when it became a matter of survival, but everyone condemns Israel for doing the same thing, even though it's even a bigger issue of survival, right? So, and Holotap is saying, so screw that. We are not as suicidal as those countries that created these rules. Okay, so I agree with you, Holotap, except just say these specific parts of international law, not the entirety of international law. We don't want to completely give up the framework. This framework is what has kept the world liberal order that everybody's benefiting from basically in check. Like these are the international law are the bricks of the new world order that has made Israel a great country, United States a great country. So we need international law, but some of it needs to change. For example, this whole Europe immigration, the responsibilities that European countries have with regards to refugees, that needs to be changed, and also some other parts regarding Israel needs to be changed. And also we're gonna, okay, so thank you again for the super chat. Elbart is saying they are permitted according to the Oslo Accords. Okay, I will look into that. And thank you for being a member for 3 months. You know what? How about this, guys? I will do an entire stream on this. Let me know in the comments on whether the settlements are illegal or not. I will investigate this and I will do an entire stream on it. Is that good? Should I do that? But again, regardless of the answer, if it's legal or illegal, they should still be happening, in my opinion. Anyways, let's get back to the points, because this is important. What did I say? Did I say something wrong? Okay. What's that? Okay, so let's go to the food that is getting in. So, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, many people accuse Israel of using starvation as a weapon in Gaza. They say Israel is not letting food in, people are starving, and Israel is responsible. So we first of all showed how most of the reasons why people are not getting the food is other reasons, and Hamas is responsible. But let's talk about more, because when I looked into this, I was it blew my mind, because when it comes to the amount of food that Israel gets in, the numbers are so far from what I even anticipated. Okay, so what do the numbers actually show? Israel is not only letting food get in, Israel is letting a huge amount of food in. Between January, here's an example. Between January and July 2024, Israel cleared enough food trucks at the border to provide 3,000 calories per person per day. That is that is enough food to make everyone in Gaza not just fed, but obese. I don't get 3,000 calories per day. Do you guys get 3,000 calories per day? I try to make sure that it's under 2,000. Is Israel trying to Is Israel trying to defeat people in Gaza by making them fat? Is that the plan? Is that the plan here? Okay, 3,000 calories per person per day. And then I looked at what the UN requirements is, which is that's well above the 2,100 calories per day that the UN says is the emergency minimum needed to survive. I don't understand why UN says that the emergency requirement is 2,100 calories per day, because I don't get that many calories per day, and I'm doing fine. I'm doing more than fine. I'm actually gaining muscle weight. Okay. Okay. Jack is saying, "What's the source?" I mentioned the source. My sources at the beginning of the show. These my sources are UN data, Reuters, BBC. I'm not even using biased sources. I'm using actually. Okay. Why is there 2,100? That's a lot. Okay, let me actually defend the UN. Maybe UN was saying that because it needs to be 2,100 per day, because that's not what you need for survival. I know that because I'm surviving on less. I'm surviving on less calories per day. So I know that's not what you need for survival. I think, if I'm guessing, that the reason why that number is so high is because the UN is trying to adjust for how much of it will actually get to the hands of people. So maybe the UN is saying, like, if we aim for 2,100, given that we're in a freaking war zone and things are complicated, not all of it is going to get to the hands of people. So that's why that's so high. Maybe that's why it's that the number is high. I'm just trying to steelman this position. But even if that's the case, then justifiably, if Israel is getting in 3,000 calories, and maybe I'll do the calculation for you guys so you guys see it, because people are saying, how do you get this number? So I'll do the calculation. I'll go over the calculation for you guys, right? But even in the most intense, so that was, people are like, okay, Armin, that was from January to July in 2024. So you picked the best time. So we're in 2025. Why are you using 2024? So you probably picked the window that had the highest amount of calories getting in to make Israel look good, right? So I looked into this. Even during the most intense fighting in May 2025, Israel still let in about 2,500 calories per person per day, which is still above how much I eat per day. This is actually unhealthy. This is actually unhealthy, not because it's too low. It's unhealthy because it's too high. This is Israel. Israel is using fattening people as a way, as it's not using starvation. Israel is not using starvation as a weapon of war. Israel is using obesity and obesity epidemic as a weapon of war. Freaking hell. Okay. That's what, I see. That's a trick. Oh, Israel is trying to make Hamas fighters fat and lazy. They're not going to fit in the tunnels. The tunnels are so narrow. The Hamas fighters are going to be so big they cannot get through. That's what's going to happen. All right. Oh my God. I guess even in the most intense fighting, which was May 2025, that is still higher than the number that UN says is the minimum requirement. So, by the way, people, I hope you guys know. So the average adult, if you're trying to lose weight, I think, like, and again, this is for, and like, this is the amount of calorie that an adult male needs. Adult male that is trying to maintain weight but not lose, because you could lose some weight. So because when I'm trying to lose weight, I probably eat like 1,800 calories per day. That's what I eat, which is not very low. It's basically a slow losing, like just a little bit every month, because if you try to lose it too fast, that's unhealthy, right? And so basically 2,100 calories per day is what an adult male needs. Like, children need less, women need, it depends on your weight, actually, so I'm not going to say that. I mean, half of the population of Gaza is children, so I don't think they need that much. So where do these numbers come from? People are saying, where did these numbers come from? These come from independent researchers counted how many trucks per day were cleared by Israel, how much food weight each truck carries, which is about 15 tons, how many people are in Gaza, which is about 2.1 million, and how many calories are in a kilo of food, which is about 3,500 calories per kilogram for basic foods like flour, rice, and canned goods. So, for example, for May 2025, you had 100 trucks per day, which is one of the lowest, times 15 tons. That would be 1,500 tons of food per day, right? So that's 1,500,000 kilograms divided by 2.1 million people. That would be 714 grams per person. 714 grams times 3.5 calories per gram, which is 2,500 calories per person per day. That's how you get the number. So that's enough to meet. That's beyond survival needs. Again, I'm not saying people are not going hungry in Gaza. Again, the food is getting in. It's just what happens after is the problem. But as you can see, this is not you. This is the accusation of starvation being used as a weapon of war is insane. Has anybody broken down this for you like this anywhere? Have you seen this anywhere else? If not, then freaking like the stream so more people see this. More people need to see the stream, so like this, share it. So again, please understand that I'm not suggesting that people are not going hungry. People are going hungry, even though this much calorie is getting in. But because getting food in Gaza is only step one, the real problem is what happens after the food enters. Because people are like, oh, Armin, are you actually saying people in Gaza are not going hungry? Look at these kids going hungry. Look at the people in the lineups crying desperately. Armin, these do not look like people who are basically filled. Look at the lineups of people trying to get food. They look desperate. They look hungry. Yeah, I know. But the problem is 1, looting, 2, fuel shortages, 3, danger inside Gaza, 4, only one crossing is open. As we mentioned. And the crossing one crossing is open because Egypt has closed Rafah, the Rafah crossing. So blame Egypt. Blame Hamas. Blame Egypt. The gate, the Kerem Shalom gate, even if Israel wanted to do everything to get even more food in Gaza, that one gate cannot handle everything Gaza needs. So what's the results? Even though enough food enters Gaza, much of it sits unused at the border in warehouses. It doesn't reach the people. So yes, some areas of Gaza are starving, but not to the point of famine, unlike what they tell you, but not because Israel didn't let the food in. It's not because Israel didn't let the food in. And here's a crazy thing. It gets crazier. Can you believe it? It actually gets crazier. Let me see how much time I have. Let's compare the situation in Gaza to other war zones. So, for example, we had, I already mentioned, Gaza from January to July 2024. We had 3,000 calories per day per person, which is, get this, highest ever documented in a war zone. Did you get that? Did you get that? I say that one more time. The amount of calories Israel got into Gaza from January to July 2024 per day per person is the highest ever documented in a war zone. This is the country that is being accused of using starvation as a weapon. Is this not insane? It's not that they're lying. It's not just that. It's not just that they are wrong. It's that they could not have been any more wrong. This is peak wrong. Okay. It's not like, oh, they're exaggerating a little bit. It's that the reality is that Israel has done more than anyone ever to get food into a war zone. And imagine that reality, and then the fact that so many people everywhere believe the very opposite of that, and it's spreading. And this is right now the main narrative. How is that possible? I tell you how it's possible. Because anti-Jewish hatred is so deep-rooted, and people, and in every culture, in every geography, to the point that it's so present everywhere that people can't even recognize that it's there. Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous, people are saying. Yeah, also Angry Keyboard Warrior just gave us a super chat. Thank you, guys. We got a lot of super chats today saying, how many people know that in 2020 till 2022, Ethiopia and Eritrea, I always have a hard time pronouncing that country, blocked humanitarian aid from entering Tigray, starving at least 150,000 to death. I mean, who cares, Angry Keyboard Warrior, right? Was it done by Jews? I mean, why do you have to go to 2020 to 2022? Right now, as we speak, there's a famine going on in Yemen. Where are the protests for that? Where's the outrage for that? I mean, the outrage, you know why there's no outrage? Because the people responsible for that are the Houthis, is the Islamic Republic, and the Saudis. The Saudis, the Islamic Republic, and the Houthis. They are responsible because it's the famine happening in Yemen right now. It's happening because of Muslims. That's why nobody is talking about it. That's why people are not protesting against the Houthis. That's why there is no mass protests in American and European universities and Canadian universities against it, because nobody cares. It's not the lives of Muslims they care about. It's not the lives of Arabs they care about, because the Yemenis, guess what, guys? Yemenis are Muslim. I mean, where's the Muslim world? Even the Muslim world doesn't give a crap about the people in Yemen. You know who cares? We care. This anti-Islamic atheist channel was making shows about people in Yemen and their situation before it became even a thing to talk about. 6 years ago, 7 years ago, we have shows. Go check on this channel warning the world about why, before people even started talking about Yemen, this anti-Islamic atheist channel was warning about the famine in Yemen. This atheist channel did, but go look at the same time. Go look at the Islamic channels. Nothing. This atheist channel, this anti-Islamic channel, has made more shows warning about the situation in Yemen before it became a thing that more people knew about than all the top 10 Islamic channels combined. The amount of content that we made here about Yemen. But where are these other people? I mean, they're Muslim, they're Arab, they're poor. No Jews, no news. No Jews, no news. Yeah, no protests. No campus protests. No, nothing. No media outrage. I mean, it's so the famine in Yemen is so consistent that even mainstream media just sometimes puts that at a small like news that they put at the end of their segment, even if they talk about it. But they lead with the situation in Gaza. I mean, because I follow the situation in Yemen, I've seen what famine looks like. I mean, I'm not saying the situation of people in Gaza is ideal. I'm not saying they're not suffering. I'm not saying that some of them are not starving. They are, but it's not famine. I've seen what a famine looks like, and it's not a famine. And thank you, Angry Keyboard Warrior. So that's 3,000. So Gaza, May 2025. So Gaza from January to July 2024, 3,000 calories per day per person. Gaza, May 2025, 2,500 calories per person per day, which is not the 3,000 that they achieved in 2024, but it's still above UN's emergency minimum. South Sudan famine, 2017, which was crisis conditions, we had 2,300 calories getting into. So even in May, which is the worst conditions right now in Gaza, Israel managed to get more calories into a war zone compared to 2017, which was in Sudan, which was 2,300. Yemen, when it was under the Saudi blockade in 2021, the calories getting in was 1,300 to 1,600 calories per day per person, which is far below survival needs. And again, so imagine this: Israel is basically, even right now, is delivering double that into Gaza compared to when Saudi was doing a blockade over Yemen, doing half of that. So Israel has allowed more food per person than any modern war zone we have data for. I repeat that one more time. Israel has allowed more food per person than any modern war zone we have data for. But Israel doesn't get any credit for this. People only see the hunger, they exaggerate it, but they don't, they basically, a crying child is the data that I need. I mean, a crying child is devastating, but a video of a crying child is not data. It's not cargo logs. It's emotionally powerful, and it should be, but it's not numbers. It doesn't capture the whole picture. And most of the world treats Israel as the occupier. So basically, legally, they're saying you're the occupying power, so you're responsible for the civilians. Because Israel correctly argues that, no, we're not the occupying power. Hamas is responsible. Hamas is the government that they voted for. Hamas and the UN are responsible for delivering the aid. Our responsibility under international law is to just get the food in. So, but by calling Israel the occupying power, legally they will say Israel is responsible for the civilians, which is wrong. They left Gaza in 2005. This, just because they're fighting against an enemy in Gaza, that doesn't make them an occupying power, which we need to do an entire stream about at some point. So let me also admit something else. This is survival food. This is not the best food. If you want to say like, hey, this is not healthy, I agree. So the food, but the priority is to get people their calorie, because we're trying to avoid people from starving. So flour, rice, and canned food is what you need for people to survive. I mean, people are missing fresh food, clean water, baby formula. That is missing. I'm not going to deny that. Baby formula is missing, clean water is missing, fresh food is missing. And if you want people to be the most ideal, healthy self, well, we don't have that. I know. So, and if you're not getting all the nutrition people that you need in, even if the calories are enough, you could still have malnutrition because you're not getting all the nutrition in the food that you need for a healthy body. Yes. But that's not, I mean, we're in a freaking war zone. Okay, we're in a war zone, and the situations are not ideal for people in Gaza, and I do not deny that. you could still get enough calories in and still have malnutrition. Malnutrition is one thing, famine is something else. So get your facts right. Because for famine to be a thing, that's a calorie issue. For malnutrition, you could have enough calories, but not enough, I don't know, vitamins, fiber, whatever. Maybe not enough protein. So if somebody says like, hey, but you're getting enough calories in, but hey, we still have malnutrition. You're like, yeah, I know, we have malnutrition. I agree. But that's not the accusation. The accusation is Israel is using starvation as a weapon. And again, you cannot blame Israel for malnutrition, given that what they're doing is more than any other country ever has done in the war zone. I mean, what do you think will happen when there's war in a location? So it's not true that Israel is starving Gaza. In fact, Israel has allowed in enough food to exceed the UN's minimum survival standard more than any other war zone on record. The real tragedy is the looting by Hamas and other people in Gaza, fuel shortages, lawlessness inside Gaza, which Hamas is responsible for. These are what's stopping the food from reaching people. Starvation is happening, not to famine levels, but it is happening. But it's because of Hamas, because of the chaos on the ground, not because Israel is blocking food. That's what you should take out of this. Let me actually look at your comments, and then I have to get ready I'm going to be doing the same content on the Persian channel for our mostly Iranian audience, because they need to know this. By the way, let me for people who are new here, first of all, subscribe. Second of all, we have a Persian sister channel. So I do I do the English version of the show, and then I go to my Persian channel and I do the Persian version of this channel to an audience that is mostly in Iran. Some of them are Iranians outside of Iran. 20% of them, I think, are Iranians outside of Iran. 80% are mostly Iranians inside of Iran. But we also have audience from Afghanistan, Tajikistan, but it's mostly Iranians, right? And I could tell you on the Persian channel, when I do content defending Israel, those are very popular. I just want the Israeli people to know that one of the reasons why the people like what I do on the Persian channel is because the support for Israel is huge in Iran. So supporting Israel is one reason why my audience on the Persian channel love me. Right. So let me see. We got a super chat. By the way, guys, this is I think this is just Diamond Encrusted Abdullah has this crazy fantasy world. I don't know, he's a writer or whatever. So he's saying, stop supporting Israel. Baal is the author of Talmud. Angel Gabriel, K Jesus. Okay. Well, thank you. Again, I don't know what he's trying to do. Diamond, I think he's writing a story, or I don't know, but he gives us super chats and says these things. I mean, it's a crazy movie, again, if somebody makes it. Let me look at the some comments that Amir has starred. Jack is saying, Owen Jones and Middle East Eye claim that 47 of Israeli Jews want all Gazans to be killed. They cite an article from Haaretz. Thoughts on this? Well, I don't know what they're referring to. Send me the article. I mean, these are not trustworthy sources, so even before checking, I'm very suspicious of their claim, but I will look into that. But here's the thing: if that's true, which is I don't think it's true, but if that's true, what I would say, well, I disagree with them. I'm not gonna come like, let's say, for example, my understanding is that no, that Israeli Jews do not think like that, right? That's my understanding. Most of them do not feel like, not even close to 47%. But let's say that I was proven wrong. Okay, well then I disagree with them. Easy peasy. I'm not tribal. I disagree with them. I'm not going to come and defend every position that people have just because I'm on the side of their country winning, right? Easy. And again, it's I have to look at the data, but I'm not going to comment on something, but just because they said something, because I've seen how dishonest people are. So I'm not going to comment on something before I could verify it. Haaretz. Why am I pronouncing this wrong? I've seen people call it Haaretz everywhere else. Like, why am I really pronouncing this wrong? Every time I say Haaretz, people in the chat are trying to can somebody write it in Arabic? Oh, Amir saying I'm pronouncing it fine. Okay, thank you. Amir is happy. Amir is happy, so I'm happy. Jack saying, how much of an advantage would Hamas get if Israel allowed more food than currently? More food? I mean, how much more food do you need to get? Like, the food is enough for every single Gazan. I mean, at least calorie wise. If you're allowing more food than people need into Gaza, and people are not getting it in, so who's getting it? Is Hamas? Is Hamas getting it? How much of an advantage would Hamas get? A lot. There is a major source of their funding. Oh, somebody is writing it. Jack is writing it, but Haaretz. Somebody is writing Haaretz. Okay, I'm gonna trust Jack on this. Haaretz. Is that better? Thank you for writing it in Arabic. So somebody saying, good point. It's not a famine. I'll take a heat to that. Just stop joking that Israel is letting Hamas and all the kids eat so much food they are getting fat when children are, as we speak, are dying. I didn't say they are. I mean, I was obviously I told you. Okay, so I'm saying I was making fun of people who were accusing not enough calories getting in, because if you look at the numbers, I'm not obviously I suggested many times on this very show that the situation is not good. I said that they're starving. I made it very clear that what the reason of starvation is. I also even mentioned that even if the food gets to them, you will still have malnutrition because calories are not everything. I never suggested that. I never suggested that the situation is ideal. I was making fun of the people who are saying that the calories, the amount of food that Israel is letting in is not enough. Even when it comes, so I made two clarification. Even when it comes to the amount of calories that Israel is letting in, because of Hamas, that food is not getting into the hands of people, so people are starving. So I said that. And I also said that even if that food did get to the hands of people, you could still have malnutrition because calories are not everything. So I did say that. And again, if people are going to be sensitive about, like, oh, this is, I mean, guys, the situation is dark, and if we sometimes joke about things, it's because it's hard to consume. It's dark humor. I mean, I don't claim it to be very funny, but sometimes we need dark humor to be able to, because it's hard to take a pill that tastes like shit, right? So sometimes we joke around, not because the situation is not horrible. Sometimes we joke around is because it's the only way that we could continue consuming this form of content, or else we would just basically be so paralyzed that we would just give up. That's the point of that. And again, sometimes it's not going to be in good taste, but you could be like, that was not in good taste. But again, I'm done trying to. It is how it is. Sometimes it's going to be good, sometimes it's going to be bad, and you could judge me for that. For me, the main point is that, are the facts correct? If my tone is sometimes wrong, if sometimes I say something that it comes out in poor taste, okay, fine, criticize me for that. But the main thing I care about is for you to correct me on my facts. My tone, fine, sometimes it's bad. My humor, sometimes fine, it could be bad. Fine, I'll take it. But what about my facts? Because you guys have sometimes corrected me on my facts, and I appreciate that. Okay, so Diamond Encrusted Abdullah just gave us another super chat with his crazy stories about Angel Gabriel. saying Angel Gabriel is from the sky. He is a demon, an extraterrestrial. 30% of all found artifacts are missing from world museums. The sky gods sacrifice people in South America. The Star of David is on top of Saturn. Go check for yourself. Sure. Okay. Fantastic. That's amazing. Cool story. Needs more dragons. Add dragons, please. Add dragons. Thank you for the super chat. Yeah, needs more dragons, guys. You get everything, every story gets better with dragons. That's why I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan. But let me actually remove this. Let's look at something before we go. Let's look at some of the most active people in our community and thank them. Guys, make sure you like the stream right now. So, number one, YABS. You were the most active in the chat. I appreciate that. Angry Keyboard Warrior, number 2. Amir is number 3. LFTU8MY is number 4. Jack was number 5. Torah was number 6. Anti-Islam was number 7. Guys, thank you so much for being so active in the chat. Thank you so much for liking. Oh, yeah. People are saying, like the stream. Thank you. And yes, Mass, just like the stream. Yeah, please do that. I think the content here was very valuable. Do you guys agree? The content here today was very valuable. I think we went over a lot of interesting facts that you could use in your arsenal. I gave you a lot of points to use against people. You go use these points. Don't just listen to me. Go get active on social media. Use these against people. We need to be defending Israel, because the anti-Israeli force right now on social media is winning with their lies and their propaganda. They're winning. They have the upper hand, so we need to be active. Here is basically a place where we try to practice and learn the facts to actually go and fight against all of these lies. So if you appreciate that, like the stream, share the stream, leave a comment, subscribe, and hit the bell notification. Oh, and also, Ginga just gave us a super chat saying, Armin, thank you for helping us. Well, no, thank you guys as well. And you guys help us as well. And the Israeli people are helping Iranian people as well. So it's only fair for us to we have each other's back, okay? Israeli people and Iranian people, we have each other's back. We're alone in the Middle East. We're surrounded by barbarians. We're surrounded by barbarians. We're the only ones that are team life against in a sea of death. We are on an island, 2 islands of life in a sea of death. So we have to keep each other's back. Okay. All right, guys. I'm gonna head out and bye. Thank you.